Are we good to go?
Yes, I think we can start now.
All right. Thanks for your time, your attention. Actually, ERA Africa is an initiative to develop potential in the low-income community. So what we are doing with one of our projects, which we call Project TIMS, is to discourage instant gratification of thinking success is overnight, and see how we can encourage people to imbibe the spirit of hard work, determination and perseverance towards achieving success. And we have realized that, career story can make a lot of impact in this category. That's why we decided to put this program together. Of course, we have the live edition before the COVID-19, which we call on the people like you to talk to these teenagers in our community about career and share their story. And from there, they get one wisdom or another in order to move forward. And that is what this project TIMS is all about. So you are going to share your story with us. And then, of course, the main important thing is focus on career and what inspiration, wisdom can we get out of this in order to achieve our own career. So you are good to go now. Over to you.
All right, thank you very much for inviting me over for this section. I must really commend your work. You're doing, a great job. At least trying to cater for those in the, underserved community. And I think it's something that should, you should be commended for your work. So well done for that. And so straight to the job I have to do here today on creating impact beyond borders. And so I have tried as much as possible to just make I'll be sharing more of my personal experience, although I created slides for this section, but then it's just to guide the discussion that we'll get to have as I move on, and then I get to share my personal experience from there. And so, all right, thank you. And so the idea of creating impact beyond borders, we are in a world where in this present world, there's so much going on. There's so much especially for the youths trying to find their own identity, trying to cope with careers, trying to cope with every other thing that, coming in at the same time. It's a very fast world right now. And so technology is coming in. And aside from this, we're also in a world where there's so much negativity at this time. And coupled with the impact of the COVID that we also have, so many things are going on right now. And so if we're not careful, many people may get lost in this, at this present time. And so I think this is why I, thought about this very topic on how to make impact beyond borders. And so the outline that I would, I'm trying to go to the next slide. Okay. And so basically what my presentation would be on is talking about what does impact mean to you. And so I wish we had more people on board so that this could have been a very interactive section, because for me, I personally like when we're discussing issues like this, being able to interact with the audience, makes more impact. But then we would make do with those we have on ground. And so understanding what your borders are, of course, we are creating impact beyond borders, but then borders can have different meanings. And so the intention is to help each and everybody, or maybe have us reflect on what our borders are and how we can make, impact beyond that. So when I'm talking about borders, I'm not just talking about maybe, country border, the line separating Nigeria and Ghana and all that, but then there are so many other borders around us that we can get to identify and find ways by which you can make more impact. And so what are the skills that you also need to create the impact you want to make? It's not just, you're not just going to start doing something, you must have something in you that that can help you create this impact. And so what to do to create impacts aside from the skills. So now I have the skills, what can I do to create those impacts? And so last thing will just be the question and answer sector. And so what does impact mean to you? I think I want someone to talk, and so I'm going to call on Mr. Balogun Aliu, right? And so I just want to hear from those who we have around right now. So what do you think impact is? What does impact really mean to you? Mr. Balogo. Can you hear me?
What? Hello? Hello?
Hello?
I'm not sure they are with you.
What I can see him actually is, but I don't know if he can hear me, but I can see that is there. Okay, so I think it's coming on.
Impact simply means giving someone an idea or influence someone in a positive way. So in a short cut, let me just
all right, thank you for that. The other person has gone off. Thank you for sharing that. And so basically, for different people, impact can mean different things. And so it's just like having a marked effect. So impact that we're talking about now is more of just going a bit into English. The now, means that having a marked effect or influence on, the influence or the effect you have on someone. And so when we look at it as a verb, which is to have a stronger effect on someone or something. And so if you look at all around us, we have so many things that impact our lives as individuals. So many of the activities we also do even impact the environment. And so in my discussion, I'll be looking at the impact we can create on human lives and also even on the environment, because everything makes our society, and no matter the career you're choosing, there's a particular way your career will always affect or influence people and also the environment you have around you. And so basically you need to identify what impact really means to you. For someone like you, could be making impact could be helping improve kids life, children's life. For some other people it could be helping to ensure that the poor get access to their basic needs. And so whatever impact means to you, the first thing you need to want to do is to identify what do I want to do? Who am I trying to impact? What does this impact really mean? What influence do I want to have on people or maybe on environment around me? Because so it's interesting that we have some people creating social impact, but it's not basically on humans. We have people doing climate change issues. Of course, at the end of the day, indirectly, it still gets to affect human beings, but you find out that it's more of protecting the environment, because the environment is also key to human lives. And so we exist in the environment, and we have to do something to protect the environment so that we can get to protect our own lives. So all these are things you may also want to think that, okay, the question to you is, for those who even listen later, what does impact really means to you? Because if you don't understand what impact means to you, you may not really understand how you want to get to create this impact. So that's the number one thing. And so the next is understanding what your borders are. And so basically looking at, I got these two definitions from the internet. And so the first is saying that, the border is the edge or boundary of something or part of or near it, while it's also a line separating two countries. And like I mentioned earlier, we're not talking about the borders of separating two countries. We can also look at that in the sense that you want to make impact. You're in Nigeria, and then you want to make impact maybe in another country, in Ghana, in UK, which is possible for you to do. But then I also need us to understand that as individuals, we also have, so for example, you may be so when we look at religion, for example, you may be a Muslim, and then you can also get to impact the lives of people who are not even Muslims. You may be a Christian, and then you can still get to impact the lives of people who are not even Christians. And so that could be a border. You're going beyond the border of your religion to affect, someone. You can look at it from the career angle. You may be an engineer, and so you're doing something else to impact those in the field of education. And so you've gone beyond the border of your profession, and then you're going to make impact in another field. And so we can get to see it this way. It could be even the issue of tribe. You are Yoruba, or you're Hausa, or you're Igbo, or all the other tribe, and then you're getting to impact the lives of people who are not even a part of your own tribe. And so that is also another border that you can get to cross. And just like you're doing, you can be from the high income community, and then you're crossing that border and then moving into the low income community to do something to impact people's life. And so these are some of the borders that I want people to see. Don't just let us focus on borders of countries. And so these are some other things. You may be a man, for example. There's a border because you're a man, and then you're trying to do things to impact the lives of women. And so that's another border in terms of sex. So all these are things that you may also want to look at. How do I create impact? It depends also where your interest lies. For example, if you are somebody who is very passionate about maybe women empowerment, you can be a man, and then but you're passionate about women empowerment and you're doing something for women. And so that means you're creating an impact beyond your border as a man. It could be that as an adult, you want to create impact on kids. You're trying to do, bring up initiatives that are solving problems, surrounding children's well-being. And so as an adult, you are breaking that border and then going beyond to the children's world to do things for the kids that we have there. And so, like I also mentioned, as humans, you can go beyond border doing something for inanimate objects, or so all that are things so you need to understand. In creating impact, you need to understand what these borders are, and then where does your interest lie. Your interests, where do they lie? And so where do you really want to create impact? You can't create impact everywhere. That's just the truth. You can't do everything. You can't save the whole world. But then you need to identify, where do I want to really do work, and then make the impact I want to make. So, and if you look at all the things that I've talked about, career, whatever it is you're doing falls in this line. So if you're a teacher, for example, if you're a teacher, and then you can get to solve problems in the educational field, it's still your career. And so you're not just going to be like the usual teacher. You're going to go a step ahead to improve yourself, to get the skills that you need to really create impact within your field. If you're trying to impact children's life, even as a teacher, you can get to impact. So we have what we call the things are coming up about the climate education. All these are still in line with education. And so it's about, as a teacher, what things can I do to make more impact in my line of career? And then where do I want to make this impact? Is it on kids? We have adult education, for example. You can decide to say, okay, maybe for adults in low-income community, adults that have not had the privilege to go to school, I want to start, helping them read so that they can become basic literate. And then from there, you're making impact, because for an adult who has never gone to school, and then you're doing something to help this adults begin to read, you're making an impact. And so it could be that could be your own line of impact. So all these are things you need to understand, so that you would know where you want to, how you can make, so you don't have to, so understanding your borders and creating impact beyond your borders means that you don't have to just stay where you are and say, okay, this is the only place I want to, maybe you're a teacher and then you're in a school. I don't know, I'm using a teacher, for example, but I think that's the easy example coming to me. And so you can't say, okay, I'm just going to stay within my school or stay within my environment and just impact. And in this time of COVID, the good thing is that everything is now going, digital technology, education is going online. And so you can be in Nigeria. I know of some people who are in Nigeria that are creating impact on lives in other country, getting to teach kids online. And so if you don't have, like in the outline I have that you need skills also. And so if you don't have the skills, basic digital literacy, to navigate your system, computer, you may not be, even in Nigeria, the teachers that are not computer literate, for example, are having it hard right now, because schools are basically online until maybe government opens schools and then they can get back to school. So these are some of the things you need to look at, and then identify where exactly, which of the borders you want to, use, which of your borders. Like I said, there are so many borders, and I've mentioned a lot of the examples. So which one do you want to work on, and then create impact beyond it? And so I mentioned that there are skills that you need to create impact. And so we also need to understand that in creating impact, we are becoming leaders in our own right. And so if you don't have the basic leadership skills, you may not be able to know how to manage yourself or even manage people to be able to create the impact you want to make. And so leadership skills is skills that are one of the core skills you need as a person as an individual to be able to manage your own life and then manage, you know, the lives of other people you want to create impact on. And I say your own life because it's a lot of times you find people making mistakes where they get to, because they're very passionate, they want to solve problems, they want to create impact, they neglect their own selves and then go ahead to make, you know, impact on other life while neglecting their own life. And so at the end of the day, something goes wrong with them because they haven't taken time to do what we call self-care for themselves. It's only when you're in the right state that you can make impact on lives. And so that's why I said how to manage your own life as a person and then manage the people you want to create impact on. And so having the leadership skills will help you, you know, to be able to do this very well. And so the next on that list is the communication skill. Communication is very, very important. How you speak, you know, the way you're able to listen to other people, to, you know, for example, if you're trying to solve, so creating impact means like you're trying to solve a problem or trying to help people become better. There's always a challenge that you're trying to make better, to solve or help people overcome. And so if you can't even, there's something we call active listening. And if you can't, you know, you don't have the skills to communicate better, to be able to help people to learn, or maybe understand what you're trying to do, or even listening, we have the listening skills. You don't have those basic, you know, skills on that communication. It may be hard for you to put forward the idea you're trying to sell to people, to help them understand what impact you're trying to create. And also, if you don't know how to also communicate, it may be hard for you to listen or identify, you know, listen to the people you want to help and help them, and listen and identify the things they need. It's one thing for you to think this is what these people need, but it's another thing for you to be able to listen and know that these are the things these people say they need. And so it's not about what you think would benefit those people. It's about what do the people really need for them to improve, or for you to be able to have influence on their lives. And so communication is also very key. And so when we have the next word that we have there is the interpersonal skills, which is very, very key. How I'm able to communicate with you, how you're able to communicate with me. You know, a lot of times, if you don't have the skills, it becomes very hard for you to be able to relate with other people and ensure that they are able to learn from you so that you can get to work together. And part of being, you know, having great interpersonal skills is the fact that you are in Nigeria and then you can get to work with people from different backgrounds. You can get to work with a Yoruba person, you can get to work with a Hausa person, you can get to work with people from different tribes and even from different countries. Like I've had the opportunity of, you know, being on projects where we, you know, people who are not even from the country, that people will get to work with. And so if you don't have the skills or the interpersonal skills to work with these people, you find out that you may just be in your, what I would call the local champion. You're just within your own space and then you're feeling good. But then the world is becoming a small village, really, a small global village. And so the way things are going right now, it's possible for you to work with diverse group of people. And so if you don't have interpersonal skills, it may be hard for you to be able to, you know, work with these people and, you know, to work together so that you can achieve whatever goal you want to achieve. And then the next is organizational skills. As a person, you need to have the skills of, you know, you have to be organized, number one, as a person in your life. And then in terms of your career, in terms of whether you have an initiative, whether you're trying to solve a problem or you're trying to start a business or whatever it is you're going to start, if you don't have organizational skills, it may be hard for you to grow whatever it is you're doing and then sustain it or even get to work with people, you understand? So it's also very important. And then problem solving. At this time, there are so many problems that we have in the country. Like the problems are so many. In Africa, for example, we have so many. And then COVID has added so much to it, maybe even make them really strong again. And so you need to be able to think. You need to be able to think and, you know, think there are problems around you. And so one of the ways to make impact is that identify the problem you want to solve. We have the issue of hunger, we have the issue of malnutrition, we have the issue of climate change, we have the issue of environmental pollution, and so many issues, educational issues, and so many. So which one where does your interest lie? Which of these problems or challenges do you want to tackle? And then once you then say, okay, I want to do something in education line, you can then say, okay, if I want to do something in education line, then what can I do to solve? And then you begin to think about that problem that you have identified that you want to solve, and then begin to think. And so the problem solving skills is that, okay, now this problem exists, what can we do to solve this problem. And so there are different ways that you can get to solve that. And so, for example, I could remember I about 2 years ago, because of the so I part of I don't know if I even introduced myself when I started, but then I have a background in education. So 2 years ago, I was a, if you know Teach for Nigeria very well, it's a non-governmental organization that is, you know, working to solve education problem. And so 2 years ago, I've had the opportunity to learn about Teach for America, and then Teach First UK. And so we have what we call the Teach for All. Teach for All is just like an umbrella body for Teach for countries. So you have Teach for Nigeria, Teach for Ghana, Teach for America, Teach for, and so many of the Teach for countries, but all of us are under Teach for All. And so I've had the opportunity to know two other Teach for, you know, but I think that of UK and that of America. And so when I saw Teach for All, and because I knew what those ones were doing, I just knew that, yes, I wanted, because I knew the education problem we have in this country, the education crisis is there. And then I just wanted to be a part, you know, because I was passionate about solving, you know, some of the problems, being a part of the group or the movement trying to solve educational problems. And so I decided to, you know, give 2 years of my life to be a teacher. And so meanwhile, my background is in I'm a registered dietitian, and my background is in paramedicals. And so it's quite different. And so that's why I also like the Teach for Nigeria model. What they try to do is to bring in young leaders from different professional backgrounds, and then they train them on the pedagogy of educational pedagogy and everything you need to be a good teacher in class, and then we keep having trainings over and over all through fellowship. But then because you're coming from a background, so for example, what had happened to me was that I was coming from a nutrition and dietetics background, and so going into the school, aside from being a teacher, I was able to identify the problems of hunger and malnutrition that my kids were going through. And so, for example, we had people who, I remember I have a colleague who happens to be I've always tried to mute my microphone because I stay in a place where we have airplane going over the head of my video, and one was passing through, so I didn't want the sound to come in.
All right.
And so yes. And so so going through the Teach for Nigeria fellowship, I wanted to help solve the problem of kids not being able to have access to quality education. And so I was being equipped with the skills and the knowledge to do that. But aside that, because I'm a registered dietitian, I saw some other problems in there that I knew that needed. There's no way a child who is hungry, who is malnourished, and even sometimes unhealthy can get to learn very well. And so going into that, I was able to see that problem aside from the education problem. So the problems there are many, but then aside the educational problem, which is the teaching and the teaching method and all that, I saw something else that I realized needed to be solved. And then I started thinking of how I would get to solve that problem. And so that's about problem solving. And so the next on that slide is self-confidence. The truth is that you need your confidence. There's so many things that if your self-esteem is low, your self-confidence is low, for example, you as an individual also need help. You need help. And so you need to be able to, boost your own self-confidence first. There's no way you can, there's a saying that what you don't have, you can't give. And so part of trying to impact life or trying to work with people, for example, if your goal is to help kids become better, one of the ways to become better in life is to have to have self-confidence. But if you as a person do not have that, you cannot even stand to talk. You cannot even express yourself very well. And how do you help people to do that? And so this is one of the skills. And these are things that can be learned. You can build self-confidence. Even if you have low self-confidence, you can get to build it. There are ways you can get to do it. And so it is a key that you need, a key skill that you need to be able to create impact on lives. And we also look at adaptability. So you mentioned you're working with people in the low income community. And so imagine if I am coming from maybe the high eyebrow areas, for example, in Lagos, now maybe I'm coming from the Lekki side, all this, and then I want to come and work with people who are as do you understand? But so you need to be able to. So I don't expect I don't expect to get to that place and be doing the class thing and say me I'm from I class Lagos and you are from this class Lagos. You need to be able to like, adapt to the situation, be in those people's shoes. Like you need to live in with them. Like that's the only way you can get to understand what they are going through. And so the moment you choose to solve the problem, or maybe create impact on the lives of those people, you need to decide to live in their own shoes, to put yourself in their shoes. And that's a way to what we call empathy. That's one of the ways you can empathize with them. So it's not about where you're coming from, it's about being able to adapt to their situation. And it's only when you even get to adapt to their situation that you can get to understand really what these people are going through. And it's only when you get to understand what they're going through that you can then create impact. Do you understand? And so for that, I can give an example. Like remember when I was teaching during my teaching fellowship with Teach for Nigeria, I had a kid who, so my students sometimes would come late. This is basic public school. Also, the school I was teaching in was in Ota, Ogun State. And so sometimes my kids would, come to school very late. The fact that I even had 71 students, in class, like I call them my kids, really. And so I had 71 kids, and the truth is that almost 80% of my kids come to school with no breakfast. And so if sometimes some of them will bring food, but some of them may not. Most times not bring food. And then they bring like 15 naira to class. And out of this 15 naira, they will get to still pay lesson fee of 30 naira. And they are left with 20 naira. And so that 20 naira is what they will use to go and buy whatever they can buy. These are kids that don't eat breakfast. And they say they'll still, maybe that 20 naira, whatever they buy for 20 naira, that they will get to eat before they get close by 3:30, before they go home. And so on this particular day, I think one of the kids, she wasn't feeling well. She was practically ill. And so, of course, as a teacher, for me, it was one of the things we were trained as, that was how we were trained as Teach for Nigeria. We went beyond the classroom, went beyond making impact in the classroom to even invest in their family, invest in the kids, and go beyond just teaching. So we're the kids' friends, we're their teachers, we're their counselors, we're their called, whatever it is you can call. And so that was the kind of relationship we had with the kids, not just the teacher-student relationship. And I was like, I can't leave this child to go home alone. And I decided to follow her home. That day. You need to see the distance as an adult. I was like, do you mean you come from school every day from this distance? And it got to a stage, I was like, come, this girl is not finished. And me, personally, I was very tired. And I was like, I don't think I can, let's just take a bike and let's get you home. And so I tried to imagine that every day, these kids, these are like 10 years old, 8 years old kids, 11-year-old kids, walking that kind of distance to come to school every day. And you as the teacher, you would even flog them, you would beat them, you punish them for coming late without even knowing what these kids are going through in the first place. And so for me, I just think that I tried, going home with that girl that very day was more like trying to see, let me put myself in the shoe. Aside from the fact that I just couldn't leave her alone, because if she were to be my younger sister, I wouldn't just tell her to go home all by herself. But then I just felt that I didn't even get to know where these kids are staying. My God, since that day, in fact, I went there recently, I was like, God, I couldn't imagine walking that distance every day. But that way, it helps me understand the kids better. And then whatever impact I'm trying to make on those kids, it made me understand them better. And it even brought us closer, because for you to go the extra length to take me home, to take me home because I was ill, you didn't just take me home, you spent money, because you couldn't work, for whatever reason, but then you still had, I was able to empathize with her. And so these are things that are very, very, very important. And integrity is also something that is very key. If people, integrity goes, a long way. And if people don't trust you, if your character is dicey and people cannot put their trust on it, it's maybe hard for you to create the impact you want to create. And so the example I will use for that is while I was also teaching. So I had a lot of experience when I was teaching, and I think those 2 years were so far some of the best years of my life. And so I remember that I had kids coming to school with tattered uniform. Like you see them in uniform, but you see their body part from the uniform. The clothes were torn. Some of them, they would have patched their uniform that even with the uniform, they can't patch it anymore. And so it was that bad. And so these are some of the things that affect a child's confidence, really. Because you can't imagine dressing and then you're looking almost half naked in what you're wearing, but then you don't have a choice. Even sandals, you hardly have some of this. And these are some of these kids that were even going through child abuse and so many of these issues that, when it comes to kids, you can't say everything, but then it's so pathetic. And so I had a partner in my school, where 2 Teach for Nigeria fellows working in that particular school. I have to mute, please. Another airplane is coming.
Yeah, serious. All right.
Okay. So did you hear that? I don't know. Sorry about that. I couldn't get the mute earlier. So what we had to do was to find ways to solve that very problem. We couldn't imagine our kids coming to school in tattered uniform. We were teachers, we're their friends, we're going in good clothes and all that. And it wasn't just done. Then aside from that, these were kids that were, okay, so they say it's tuition free, but then they say they have to pay PTA levy of 1,500 naira. And I'm telling you that I would see parents come to school with 100 naira. Oh, I brought this 100 naira, let me deposit it today. I'll bring another one next. You can see that these are people. How much is 1,500? Many of us just buy credit card with 1,500, and then that's in fact we even eat food of 1,500 and just a meal, and that's gone. And then you see kids whose parents are struggling to pay 1,500. And so what sometimes happens to those kids is that they get flogged, they get beaten in school, and then sometimes the people who beat them would say, if you cry and go back home, your parents will know that we are serious about the fees. And then I'll be wondering, God, these kids, you're like punishing them. The truth is that by the time the kids will get beaten in the morning, afternoon, they would have gone. They will continue their lives, and then they can't. They're not even. It is not their fault that their parents can't even get to pay this money, but it will make them go through. And so we couldn't. Myself and my partner couldn't just. We couldn't take that really. There was a day I felt very bad because I was like 1,500, and then you beat kids as if they stole something. And one of the things we had to do to solve those two problems was that we started a fundraising. We started reaching out to people that, okay, so we have kids, we need to pay their school fees, we need to pay their PTA levy, and we need to sew new uniforms for them. And we put pictures of the kids' clothes and how tattered those clothes are. And for me, as a human being, you can't see those clothes and how much is sewing one uniform. One uniform is also 1,500. Sewing just a pair of the shirt and the shorts, just 1,500. And so we had to start, that fundraising campaign, and my God, we were able to raise the money these kids need. My partner and I altogether had 121 kids. I think I had 71, and he had about 50 something. Everything made 121 kids. And then while we're doing this, because people, so I was talking about integrity, because people knew who we were. I had friends who contributed, who paid for several clothes for kids, and I had friends who shared the poster of the fundraising. And while somebody who knew me shared the poster, there was this woman who I was very grateful for, because the woman saw the poster. The woman she sews for all these eyebrow schools in Lagos. She sews their uniform, and the woman saw somebody, a friend of mine, shared. And then the woman asked, are you sure these people are real? Are you sure this is a true cause and all that? And she said that sure, she knows the person in charge and all that. And the woman decided to sew all the 121 uniform for us for free, for free.
Wow.
For free. She did not. And so for the uniform that was 1,500 in the school, this is the uniform that they sew with poor material, quality materials. And so the woman was like, of course, because of where, the kind of work she does, the eyebrow school, she was like, I cannot sew uniform for these kids with this kind of material. She got the quality material. All we needed to do was just show her a sample, and then she bought this material and sewed everything for the kids. And you can imagine the joy, the happiness they got to distribute the uniform to these kids. The parents were like, even till now, like parents still call. In fact, just about when I wanted to start, my parents were still calling. These are kids that we've left like almost a year ago now. We left their school, but then the parents get to call us during COVID. Myself and my partner knew, because we knew where our kids are from. We understood that there are so many challenges really, and so we had because the woman did the uniform for us for free. We had the extra fund for the uniform. And so we had to use part of that money to buy foodstuff, to provide COVID support for them, as in like foodstuff to support these kids during COVID. And so we did that also. In fact, we're supposed to go distribute part of the money because of what the woman did, we had extra, And so we had to buy school bags to go and distribute for them. But unfortunately, the COVID thing didn't even allow us to go. And see, I still have all the bags in my house right now. I'm just waiting for schools to resume. And so I'm just trying to say that sometimes in creating impact, you may not even have the resources, the money to do it. But when you have, for example, you have integrity, people know who you are. They would be ready and willing to support you. And I've done so many projects. I tell people, personally, I don't have money. Like, I pray I have money, but I don't have money. And what I've done projects, running into millions, that I have been able to raise money through my friends, through my friend's friend, my friend's friend. People would know that, okay, all they need to know is, are you sure this person is real? Is this course a true one? And then you get to impact lives that you don't even know about. People who you may not even know who they are. Even some of them you get to know, and then indirectly you still impact so many lives. And so this may be, and so in this my case, for example, there were so many borders that we crossed. Is it from adult to children? Is it from coming from a normal eyebrow Lagos area to low income Ota, just to go and impact life? In fact, they went to their houses to go and distribute, and I saw some of the places these kids were staying. I was like, God, we gotta have mercy on this kid. And so that's it. And so when it comes to work ethics also, because you can also make impact in where you work. And so hard cases where, as an employee, you have you have all these skills, and then your boss sees all this thing in you and then gives you leadership position, tells you to do this because they trust you. And so if you don't have the work ethics, you go to work very late, you are not truthful, you don't have good interpersonal skills, you cannot communicate properly, you're not even confident, your boss is talking to you, so you can't even stand properly in his front to share your thoughts and all that. It may be a problem. And so these are some of the things you need, the skills. There are still so many other skills, but these are some of the key ones that I want to touch that can help you, create more impact beyond the field. And so what are the things you need to do to create impact beyond your borders? Like, just to recap, we have already mentioned the different kind of borders. And so it's left to you as an individual, once you listen to this, to know, okay, so what are my own borders? Which borders do I have around me? And so personally, I have done so many projects that when I do, so it's one of the things I think I've learned from one of my mentors is that it doesn't matter which faith you belong to. When it comes to doing good, when it comes to creating impact doing good doesn't know tribe, doesn't know religion, doesn't know, whatever barriers we humans have put into place. Because everybody needs food, for example, everybody needs water, everybody needs, talk about whatever it is you need, everybody needs it. It's their basic human needs. And so you can't say because somebody is not in is not of your faith or is not of your tribe or this, you wouldn't do. And so you need to just break beyond those borders to create the impact you really want to create. It's just like the system or all this technology that we are using. If those people thought, Africans, they cannot use it, they would even come to Africa in the first place. So we need to think beyond this, and then we need to begin. Although we are trying to create local impact, we need to also begin to think like global citizens. How the impact you're making here can then have effect globally, and then you can see it's a small world right now. Like you can be within the corner of your home, and then you're creating impact across, around the world. We need to think about it. There are so many opportunities to do that, even if you've never traveled out. There's so many opportunities you can get to, do that. And so it's high time we stopped thinking about, I'm just Nigerian. Of course, sometimes when we think about it, we say, oh, this Nigerian identity brings so much bad luck to us. But then because of things that are happening. But I'm telling you that, look at the Nigerians that are doing great things. And then begin to think about how you also can. They started from somewhere. They started from breaking, beyond their borders, doing things beyond their borders. And then that was how they were able to make so many great impacts, and then began to grow, and they're where they are now. And so we see them at the top and see people, they are all up there, but we need to understand that this also started small, and this is what we need to also get to do. And so the first thing I think we need to get to do is to be a volunteer. Volunteering brings so many opportunities to you. It builds all the skills that I mentioned. Volunteering can help you build all those skills. Like it can help you build all those skills. So you just need to. But one thing I always try to tell people is that you can't be everywhere. As the person I mentioned earlier, you need to know what kind of impact you want to create, or the field or sector or the people you want to impact. Some people, their course is all for kids. You will never see them do anything for adults. It's only kids that they will do for. Some people it's just adults. Some people it's just women that they would work with. And then some people it's education only. Some is nutrition. Some technology and all this digital literacy thing. But sometimes you can also even get to combine. For someone like me, I combine because I feel we have the capacity to be able to do that. But then one thing is that you need to know what you want to do, the impact you want to make. It's just like setting goals. You don't just set out and say anything I want to do, anything will just go. Know what you want to do. It's just like setting your life goals. Or better still, who do you want to be? What impact do you want to make on life? And so that way it helps you identify, okay, so where can I do volunteering? There's so many organizations doing so many things. And so maybe some of the cause you're passionate about, where does my passion lies? And then you get to identify some of these organizations and you begin to work for them as volunteers. And they don't make you say, a lot of times when we're doing volunteering, or some people, of course, there's some volunteering opportunities that will give you stipend and give you money and all this. But sometimes the experience you get from this places money can buy. And so you may have to sometimes you have to go through the pain of taking the money from yourself to, go do some of the activities these people do. But then at the end of the day, 1 month, 2 months, 3 months into this volunteering, you are not the same person again, because you'd have added some other things to it. And so that's one of the ways you can get to what's it called? You can get to make impact.
Before we move on, let me quickly ask this. I know I follow you on Facebook very well, and I see some of the projects you're doing. Do you have any projects right now that need volunteer? Let's just share the information with people who will be watching this.
Okay, and so I presently have a project, an initiative called Waste for Meals, and so Waste for Meals was the solution I initiated to solve that school feeding problem that I mentioned earlier, kids not having access to good food and all that. And so the idea of Waste for Meals is that kids get access to low cost nutritious meals while getting to pay with using recyclable waste like paper bottles and cartons for now, using that as currency to pay. So they get to pay little cash and then use that bottle to pay the waste to pay the rest of the amount. So for example, maybe a child is buying 100 naira food, they get to bring like 15 naira and then maybe like 20 bottles to balance up. So that's what. And so presently, of course, we're just starting out, but we have recently, I think about 2 or 3 weeks ago, we put out a call for volunteers, because we're also doing what we call waste raising, where individuals like you, organizations, get to donate your waste, those waste that I mentioned, give to us for us to use to raise funds to provide more, raise funds to support this project that we are doing. And so I may get to share the link for volunteers later with you. Maybe something can get to share, but that's one of it. So that's one of it. And so there's another, so present there's another one that we do, which is charity clothing project. And so that was also to solve one of the basic needs of people. So what we do is to collect. So as I'm sure if I ask you now, in your wardrobe, you have clothes that maybe you've not worn for the past God knows how many years. And so there are people around that need this clothes. And sometimes you're just tired of a clothes. Not that it's bad, but then you don't, maybe you've grown out of the clothes and then it's just lying in your wardrobe. And so what we started doing was to ask people to donate their new and fairly used clothing items. And so we get to collect these clothing items and identify low-income communities or individuals that we can get to donate this clothing materials to. And so that's what we do. But that usually comes once in a year. And so we already did this year. So we are hopeful that we'll do the next year. So these are some of the things. But aside that, there are so many other, in fact, if you find an organization that you're interested in their work, you can write a letter and send to them. That's part of being confident. This is you would like to support this, you could like to support this work, this is where your passion lies, and you just feel you can also bring in value, not just take from them, and so I can get to do this. I'm sure the organization would want to, want you to work with them. So that's one of the things. The next is that you can be a mentor. And so, doing mentoring is just that is a two-way thing. Both the mentee and the mentor get to benefit in a mentorship program. So and it doesn't have to be like because there's always something. If there's something you as a person you're good in, there's something you're good at doing. There's something Mr. Balogun is good at doing, and so there may be people who want to learn this thing, and you can, or maybe who are also on that path already, and then you can get to mentor them. They can be younger people to you, but then they can be older depending on the skills that you have that you want to give to them. So it's not like the regular thing that we know that it's only adults that, maybe people in high career or high places or high position that do mentors for those of us that are just coming up. But then that's one way to look at it, because you have people who are more experienced that can share it. But then depending on if you're very good at, with a skill, for example, you can get to mentor somebody that is just trying to build that skill also. So let me use this example. If you're somebody who does, how to do graphic design, Canva, for example, is one of the things people use a lot for Canva for. And then you find out that there are some younger people who really want to learn how to do graphic design, or maybe they're just coming up with that course. Everything is always business, really. And so you can get to support this, mentor them and say, okay, these are the ways you can, especially if you're in that business, for example, you can get to say, okay, this is what you can do to improve your graphic designing skills. This is what, and at the end of the day, maybe your goal is to empower more youths. That's the impact you want to create. And so for that skill that you have, for that graphic skills that you have, you're trying to, teach more people. And then also guide them, be their mentor on how they can develop that skill, and then begin to use it to also create impact, or even maybe to become more empowered and then start making money. So it doesn't have to be one-way traffic. It doesn't have to be because you're in a high position. It can be that way where you have somebody who is very experienced in your line of profession, being your mentor as you're coming up. But it can also be that you are very good at doing something. Everybody's good at doing something. That's just the truth. Some people, they're good at talking. So they can always mentor people who want to be public speaker coming up. Some people are just good at so many things. So identify what are the things you're good at doing. And so that way you can get to, support, mentor people coming up. And the truth is that the moment you become a mentor, because you know that you need to improve on your knowledge, that very knowledge you're trying to pass on to people, you won't just sit down with what you know. You begin to also make research. You begin to also want to, just so that you can stay abreast of what is current in that line of either the field or the line you're trying to mentor those people in. And so that way you're also learning and improving your own knowledge. Then those people that you're trying to mentor, they would also have skills that maybe you don't have, or you're also not good, with, and then they also get to teach you. So it's a two-way thing. Both the mentor and the mentee would get to learn at the end of the day. And so that's what mentoring is. But many times, many youths, we fail to understand what mentoring is, and we think it's just one mentor coming to telling you everything you have to do. No, it has to be two-way thing. You have to do the work while they guide you. And so that's one of the ways you can get to, make impact on life beyond you. So like you're doing now, maybe some of the things you do at ERA, you can also decide to say, oh, you're trying to create mentors for people you work with, and then at the end of the day, you're still getting to impact. And once those people become good too, they can also become mentor, and then they get to even identify other borders, their own borders, and then start creating impact beyond those borders. So that's one of the ways. Then the next is just something similar to the mentor. You can become a tutor. Even at this time when education, you have so many, if I ask you, there are so many kids on your streets that are not going to school right now. And so as a person, you want to create impact. And then you see these kids that they've been out of school for like 5 months. And even, Lagos State says we're going to resume by September 24th. We hope we resume. But the truth is that not everybody is going back to school immediately. And so imagine if you have known of all this like 5 months ago, and then you start, while maintaining social distance and all that, which are still ensuring that the kids, it could be just 4 kids in your area. And then you start doing something. The moment you start with the 4 kids, you start having more people showing interest. In fact, I was in a meeting yesterday where one of the President Teach for Nigeria fellow was talking about what he was doing. And so this is when COVID started, he started, going to his student houses. And so that's why being a teacher goes more than, some teachers don't even know where their kids stay, really. But for us, one of the things we do at Teach for Nigeria, we take the extra step to know where our kids stay, because we want to invest in their family, because we understand that the family is very key to the kids being able to learn, and we need their parents to buy into. And so he started going from house to house. You can maybe go to somebody's house today, teach about 2 of them, go. And so somebody saw what he was doing. One of the parents saw what he was doing. And that parent said, oh, this fellow's name is Joshua. And the parent said, Mr. Josh, you're doing so much for these kids, but then the houses are far apart. I have a space that I can give to you. And then there's water where they can get to wash. There's a bowl where they can get to wash their hand. Of course, because of the COVID washing hand and all that, they can get to wash their hand and still maintain social distance. And so the man gave the space for free. And then they started teaching during this COVID, though, it's still going on in this COVID, they still do the classes. And so imagine if you have so many people who are also trying to create impact that way in the education field. And then they are still doing that. And then you see the kids bringing chairs on their head to come to the class, and then after class, while still maintaining. And so he was able to teach. And while they were doing that, more people showed interest. And so he could only take 20 people per day. And so 20 people per day, they will alternate the next day, not those 20 people that will come. It's another set of 20 people that will come. And so that way it's creating impact. And so maybe that's what you may want to do, volunteering, giving your skill, your time, and then your skill. It's not necessarily kids. It could be the secondary school kids. Even if school is on, there are some things that you may just find a child who you feel needs this support that you can get to improve his life. And so it could, creating impact doesn't have to be like over many people. It could even be just one life. And then you're doing something great with that life. And so that's one of it. And so this one, I put it there because I'm also in this line, and I think it's something we need to also look at. And so one of the impact, and so this very point is talking about not just human lives, also the environment. Because now we're in the raining season, the flood that is happening, everything is happening, the gutters are filled with bottles, with waste and all that, and then it's impacting some of the lives you are trying to save. And so imagine if you're becoming, one of the ways you're trying to make impact is to advocate for recycling, in the sense that you're telling people don't throw your waste away, you can do this with the waste, or you're even trying to improve people's skills by using waste to do something. And so this was where I thought I was going to talk about the waste for meals. And so what we're doing with waste for meals is that we know people throw their waste in the gutter, they do so many of these things, but we don't want them, because we see that waste is valuable. And so it's another way for kids. These people don't have money, because they're from very poor economic background. But then what if we help them see the value in waste, and then they start using the waste to buy food? And so that's what basically something what waste for meals. And that way we're not only solving the nutrition problem, we're not only solving the education problem, we are solving the environmental problem too. So that's like 3 problems in one that we're using. That's just one approach. I also know of some of my colleagues who there's somebody doing waste for school fees. So the kids get to pay for their school fees using the waste. So they bring the waste to school. Waste, yes. And so that's it. And there are so many other things people are doing with waste right now. And so that way you will impact the life of the people you're asking to bring the waste, because one way or the other you're giving them something better in exchange for the waste, and then the environment is being saved. Because at the end of the day, if in the area where you stay, if people throw the dirt and flood happens, it's all of you in that area that will still end up suffering. It's not just those people that are throwing the dirt in the water. And so some of the things you can choose to be an advocate, and then help people learn how they want to, do this. And then this one is about be a donor. I mentioned the charity clothing projects we did that we also do every year. Sometimes it doesn't even have to be. There's some organization aside my own organization. There's so many other organizations doing something similar that collect clothes and support people. Sometimes it has to even do with food, where you find an organization trying to distribute food to the people who are very poor and undernourished. Sometimes I know of an organization that prepares meals and then distribute to people. I think they do it every month. And so you can decide to join that very organization. I also know that they do empowerment programs for the people that are trying to give the food, because the food is just the palliative, but then the best is still to teach them how to fish. And so they also do empowerment for them. And so these are some of the things you need to look at and see, okay, what do I really want? Because the truth is that if you don't know what you want, it's still very hard for you to create impact beyond your borders. And so these are the things you need to. And so supporting existing impact creating initiative, you need to, like I mentioned, all the things we have talked about. There's so many other organizations that are doing some of these things already. And so if I'm always of the opinion that if the problems you have identified or the ideas you want to create, if there's someone doing it already, especially in the location where you are or around where you are, for me, this is just personal thought. I feel it's best you support those people so that you can grow that, rather than you just start your own and then go through the rigors of starting. But maybe you're in another stage where you don't have it. You can even still reach out to that existing organization and say you want to use their model where you are. And so it's a partnership thing. But we need to understand that in creating impact, it's a collaborative measure. Collaboration is the main currency right now. And so you need to be able to do this. And while doing all this that I have mentioned, you get to build your network. You get to meet people. You build network. You don't just build network. You even nourish the connection you have, the relationship you build through the process. You nourish it, because I have come to the realization that sometimes having money can't do everything for you. In fact, money, many times, there are things you want that you have money and you won't still be able to get. You have the money, but then just a phone call from somebody that knows somebody that knows somebody that somebody would do that for you. And so relationship is a currency on its own. Relationship is a currency. You need to build your relationship. And I always like to say that even your network, make it wide and diverse. Don't just say because you are Nigerian and then it's only Nigerians you want in your network. The day you go outside the country or you want to do something outside the country, you need people. Make your network diverse, wide and diverse. So you have people even within the country, people of different tribes. There may be a day you have a project in the eastern part of the country and then you just need somebody over there. If you have somebody you already built a relationship with, that person can even offer you free accommodation. All the work you need to do before you go do that program there, that person may be ready to do it for you. It's because you've been able to build relationship to that. And so you need to learn to create connections, but not just create that connection, nourish the relationships that you have through it. And there's still so many other currencies aside from money, you understand, that we need to also learn about so that we can, harness all this together to become better individuals. And then once we become better individuals, you can then create impact as much as you want. It's not always a free ride, but then you have people to support you. You have people to, in fact, I remember that I was trying to see one of the top officials in one education in one of the local government areas for education, and it was just somebody who knew me that just made the call through. Okay, so go and meet this person. Just the call. I don't know if I wanted to go and see that person by myself. It may not be very, very easy, and so let us just build that, and then let us look for opportunities. The moment you start doing the little things you're doing, there's so many opportunities out there that you can, so many opportunities. I don't know, sometimes we spend so much time on our phone, but then we're doing Facebooking, we're doing Twittering, we're doing Instagramming and all those things, but we don't get to see the opportunities that are out there. And there's so many, and even right now we're in the season of opportunities. It's always around this time that we see scholarships, we see fellowship, we see so many of these opportunities coming out. And so let's also be on the lookout. You're not too young to make impact. I keep telling people, even a 10-year-old child outside the country can make impact. The girl that started this climate change, what was her name? I can't remember again. I think she was 13 years old. There's this climate change that is, I've forgotten the kids that maybe, I think in the US, they started skipping school on Fridays to protest or something. I can't remember. I think Greta, I think her name is Greta, yes. I think she's 13 years old. I've also seen, in fact, I remember that while I was in school, while I was teaching my kids, I started looking for videos of young kids doing motivational speech, talking about self-confidence, talking about doing great things. And I found some kids are 8. In fact, I saw one, the child was giving a public speech, I think she was 4 or 5, as small as that. And so, see, we need to help the kids we have around us and as youth, because sometimes when we can get to build, when we get exposed to all these things earlier, all this talk that we're now doing at when we are already youths, would have started growing with them since we are younger, and then it makes it easier rather than things we're starting to learn now. Even as graduates, many people are still trying to learn things because the education we got in the country is not the best of education, and then many of us are now re-educating ourselves and trying to empower ourselves to be able to think outside the box, think beyond the borders, and make impact. But I must say, this is the last, and I must just say that it's very, very important that you invest in yourself. If you don't invest in yourself, there's no way you're going to build those skills. If you don't invest in yourself, there is no way you're going to be able to make the impacts we're talking about. So, and when you're good, you can't be relegated. When you're good, people will see the value in you, and then it doesn't even matter the identity you put on. I keep telling people, it doesn't matter the identity you put on. It doesn't matter the faith you belong to. But when you have value to give to people, they would look for you. They want you to be part of what you're doing. People want to listen to you. And so it starts from investing in yourself. Some people don't even want to do anything, but then they want things to work. So, and there's no way you create impact beyond your borders if you don't do all this, because it's only when you have the skills, you have the knowledge, and you have all that it takes as a person that you can be able to impact more lives. That's when people want to listen to you in the first place, and then you can then get to make impact. So this is some of the just the things I want to share. And so I think I should just mention this also, that I've always been the type that thinks that you don't have to be. You can be a tri-sector leader. You can be a bi-sector leader. By this I mean that you can be maybe what you are professionally. You have studied maybe engineering. You can be an engineer and still be making impact in the education sector. You can still be a teacher in the education sector. So, for example, my background, like I mentioned, is in development space there also. And so for me, I think this is what makes life interesting. It doesn't make life boring for me, because today I'm thinking of nutrition, I'm thinking of dietetics, tomorrow I'm thinking of education, tomorrow I'm thinking of material thing. And so it makes life interesting for you. And so you don't have to kill yourself. But I understand that not everybody can do. But the first step is that identify from where you are. How can you begin to do? And the moment you begin to do from where you are, identify your passion, identify how you want to create the impact, then it makes it easier. And then once you begin to grow in that field, you can then begin to see opportunities in other fields that you can, move into, and then you make better impact. So thank you very much for.
Thank you so much. Exactly. I want you to share this. Let it be like that. You really gave us more than what we expected, and I really appreciate that. And maybe some other time we are still going to need you. We are praying that COVID is over, because
yes,
we actually have annual conference that's supposed to come up December. But since we don't prepare, we don't even know what is going to happen. We would have loved to see you live, to come and talk to our audience. But I still believe we are going to need you some other time. I really appreciate your time today and all what you said. In fact, it's a big lesson to myself. I learned so much from your speech. Thank you so much. And for viewers, these are the information if you want to get in touch. But I still think maybe we can get a little about nutrition, dietitian, at least maybe just a few minutes, 5 minutes. We will appreciate that.
I didn't get what you said.
About your profession.
Okay, so so I'm a registered dietitian nutritionist. I trained in at the Lagos University Teaching Hospital, which is LUTH, for my 1-year compulsory internship. And so I have over 5 years experience working with adults as well as children in managing their health, improving their diet, just to ensure that they get better health. So what I basically do is I help individuals improve their diet and also manage disease conditions like diabetes, hypertension, obesity. If you're overweight, for example, you're my friend. If you're underweight, you're my friend. If you have diabetes or know somebody that has diabetes, I get to work cancer management, because all these things are things that are very key, that nutrition is very key too. And so I'm basically like, just something like a doctor, but not a doctor that treats with food, but I'm just somebody who will manage health with diet improvement and also lifestyle modification. And so that's what I do as a person. I'm into private practice. I'm the founder of Poisera Nutrition. So you can sit down there. You have the poiseranutrition.com. That's the website of my startup. And also that IG, that's the Poise Dietitian, where I get to share nutrition tips with people so that they can improve their health. And I always love to say that whatever it is you're doing, you need to invest in your nutrition, because whatever it is you want to be in life, the truth is that you can't create impact if you don't have good health. And so for you to have good health, nutrition is very key. You can't have good health without good nutrition. And so I try to help people help them understand, even from your workplace, from your wherever it is you are, as an employee, even organizations can't grow if their employees are not healthy. Productivity can be improved if their employees' nutrition is poor. And so I get to provide these services for people. If you have kids that also having feeding challenges and so many of these things, I try to help improve the kids' nutrition also. And I also deliver nutrition seminars to help people, as a way of nutrition education, just to help them make better decisions about their nutrition, just to become healthier, happier, and more productive. So and I'm very, very passionate about nutrition, just as I am about every other thing I'm doing. And so that's really where I combine all of this. And so when I'm not doing working as a dietitian or nutritionist, I'm either working as a teacher. When I'm not working as a teacher, I'm also in the humanitarian space. And so that's basically what life is like. Yes, for me.
Wow. thank you so much. That's a very comprehensive one there. And thanks for your time. And for now, we're going to call it a day. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you for having me. Thank you so much. Yeah.